Guys, I'm just looking at the chat, waiting for people to pour in. We'll check the sound, and then we'll get cracking. And I have a foreigner on the line with us, coming from the UK, somewhere, London, Britain, something like that. We'll figure it all out here in a second. But just drop an emoji or something in the chat when you get in there real quick. And you could always hit the like button too. That'd be fucking nice. Okay, all right. Just checking YouTube. So I am on YouTube now. Live, home, live streaming. Okay, so we're live streaming with Sophia. All right, let's turn that off. Okay, all right, so we're looking good. Now we got 7 people watching already, but nobody has said anything in the chat. You guys are ninja watching.
Hello.
Yeah, what's up with the ninja watching, guys? Say hello.
Yeah, come on, no ninja watching today.
Yeah, you're being rude. They came over and didn't even say hi. So.
You guys have a Brit on your channel, and you're not even using the opportunity to ask about tea and crumpets and if we know the Queen or if the weather's always bad, you know?
What's up? David is in the chat early. What's up, David?
Hey, David.
Just going to comb my fabulous beard a little bit here in a second, and I'm going to introduce my guest in about 6.5 minutes. I'm going to see who else is coming into the chat. I'm sorry I don't have any elevator music to entertain you guys. Arenas is in the chat though. What does it say? What does that mean? What is Privyet? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. I've never seen this word before in my life. Maybe you know what this is because you're a Brit. You created the language over there. Priviet. What does that mean? Privyet?
Privet?
I don't know what the fuck a privet is.
I'm not going to lie, that's no British slang I've heard.
That sounds like a prestigious frog. Privet? Bro, that was a great video on upper chest training. That's right. Get your Arnold Schwarzenegger chest popping. Because, you know, ladies like guys that got chests just as big as theirs. See? That's why you got to go back and watch my Even Exchange video. Whatever she got, you better have it too. That way, she can't monetize it. If she got a nice rack, you got to have a nice chest. That's how it goes. If she got a pretty face, you got to have a nice chiseled jaw. Got to have your beard going. You got to, have everything she got. You got to have the man version. Remember, girls grew up playing with Barbie, bro. So you got to get your king.
I have a question.
Huh? What's that?
How do you work your chin muscles to get a chiseled jaw if you don't have one?
They have a couple of devices for it. They got some shit that you put on there and do all this dumb shit. But they actually do have things to work the jaw muscle. When I was growing up, actually when I was in England, I was staying with my aunt and she had 3 kids and one of them, she had 2 girls and a boy. And the boy, his name was Lloyd, and he had huge mandibles. He had huge jaw muscles. And I'm like 8 years old, and I'm like, yo, what's how you get your shit? And he just did a lot of chewing gum. What he would do is put a bunch of chewing gum together. Now, he wouldn't chew one stick of gum. He would put several gums together at the same time, and he would intentionally work his jaw. But his jaw muscles were huge. So I can't say it didn't work. I can't say, his conscious jaw training didn't pay off. So, I mean, that's one way.
Man had jaw day.
Yeah, but most guys that have them, it's genetic. They already have it. But let's be realistic. At the end of the day, it's a muscle. And if it's a muscle,
so technically,
right, it can be trained and it can be enlarged. If you look at horses and cows, they have huge jaw muscles. But what do horses and cows do? They chew all fucking day long. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
But the point is, women go for that kind of stuff. So. All right, we got Arena says hello. Oh, I guess he was just trying to say hello in a way. Tizzy said, what's good? Oh, it's Russian. Well, why are you assuming that we speak Russian? And David said, hello, chaps.
Hello, chaps.
Oh god. You know what's funny? When I went to England as a kid, they kept making fun of my American accent. But when I went back to America, they kept making fun of my English accent. I was like, yo, I can't win.
How long were you here for?
Only a couple of years, but you gotta understand, when you're that young, you pick up shit fast.
Yeah, very quickly.
Yeah, because you know, I'm just.
That's funny. I can't imagine you with like a bit of a British accent.
Oh yeah, I went back like, actually. The kids were like,
Actually.
the kids were messing with me hard, bro. But the good thing is, I knew how to fight as a kid, so at least that's the good part. Because I had to kick a lot of British kids' asses. That's one thing about English kids; they talk a lot of shit, whether they can or can't
They
fight.
so do.
They talk a lot of shit.
They really do.
Dude, they
Everybody's
kids
got
would
the
talk
most to
shit.
say.
I would kick their ass, and then the next day, the same kid would be talking shit to me with a black eye. And I'm like, yo, I just punched you in your face yesterday. What? How? Why are you still running your mouth? Oh man.
I don't care.
Yeah, English dudes are not afraid to fight, bro. They love that shit.
No, they've got attitude, and like the more time goes on, it's like every generation gets ruder. Like each group of year sevens that go in the next year into secondary school.
Well, I heard they like to play with knives now. I heard the knife violence is really bad now.
Yeah, it's been the highest it's ever been in decades. So.
Yeah, see, the problem is not guns, because they think, oh, we'll just make guns illegal. It's like, yeah, well, if you make guns illegal, now the crime rate goes up because people are using knives now. And to be honest with you,
everybody's going to use what they have.
Yeah, but guns actually don't necessarily begot violence. A lot of times, guns are what de-escalate the violence. Because if you show somebody you got a gun, they're like, you know what? All right, never mind. But when you have a knife, someone might get a little, they might still challenge you. Like, what you gonna do with that? It's like, all right.
And the thing is, it's like sometimes you don't even realize you've been stabbed. There's been cases where it's like they think they're getting punched, and actually they've just been stabbed like 3 times in the gut. So it's dangerous. And guns don't necessarily mean violence. It's people that mean violence.
Exactly. It's the people, the person with the gun. Because some guys just carry the gun around with no intention to use it. Some guys carry guns that aren't even loaded. Some guys just shoot it in the air. But if you have a knife and someone continues to challenge you, now you got to actually poke them. You got to actually do something with the knife. Yeah. So we got Disco in here said, yo. Yeah, all right. So we're about to get started since you guys are actually pouring in. Hopefully this means you guys are like me. You don't celebrate Easter. And I won't feel so bad about my Easter video being late, but I might have to drop it tomorrow or something like that. Yes, but there's a good amount of people in here already. So we're going to start in 2 minutes now, and I will introduce this voice behind the curtain. You guys are like, who is that? Who is that? Trying to build up anticipation. Don't worry, she's cute though, so you guys are going to like it. All right. Let's see what else is going here. So I'm monitoring the chat on both screens, guys. Sophie, who sounds like a regular Brit here. Well, you saw that. You saw the, I mean, thought you figured that out by now.
I thought that's exactly what this was.
I thought you would have figured that out by now. Yes, that is true. I happen to like British women. All right. So you guys share Boo TV in here. What's good? Omar's in here. Wait, I don't know who that is. Who's Melly Monaco on Boss? I don't know who that is. I'm not sure what that means. You're saying get this person on the show? Who is this person? Or set on fire? Set what on fire? You guys got to put complete sentences, man. I can't always guess what you guys are alluding to. Remember, I'm old, okay? I'm old. I'm from before text messaging was a thing.
That's jokes.
Benjo, why are you even here, bro? According to you, you waiting on Laura. He's about to cry. He was like, wait, what? Sophia, what happened to Laura?
Sorry, Laura.
No. Laura was never coming on at this time. She's coming on after.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so we have a time difference, a 5-hour time difference. Okay, we're ready to get started. It's 8 o'clock on the dot. So let me just go over to here and let me introduce you. Hello, how are you? What's your name? Where you from?
Oh, you're asking me, or I thought you were going to introduce me yourself?
Oh no, well you're on. I mean, I was gonna give you the opportunity since you didn't tell me how you'd like to be announced. But I could.
That's fair.
I could. So it's my friend from across the pond, the beautiful Sophia, coming to us from London. Yes.
Yep.
Okay, London, and she's here to give us some insight on the dating market and the tone of the male-female relations or gender war, as you would have it, that's taking place in her part of the world. She's been in a committed relationship for some time now, I imagine. I mean, it's been at least a year, I know, because I asked you last year you met this guy.
Yeah, it was about a year and a half, maybe.
Okay.
So far.
Okay, so she's actually in a relationship, so she is qualified to talk about being single in her area as well as dating, long-term in her area. So without further ado, hello, good night, and thank you for making yourself available to us, Sophia.
Hello. It is, it's quite late over here, so I'm thinking it's about 1 a.m. here, which means it's 5 hours behind where you are.
8 o'clock. Yeah, 8 o'clock on the dot.
8 o'clock, yeah. So there's a bit of a time difference, like you said, but I'm glad I actually managed to get here. We got to have this chat.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've come on, at least 2 times that I can remember on the Duke and Dawn show and had some interesting conversations with us. So I asked you, would you come on when I started going live? And of course, I'm finally going live now. So, I appreciate that. It's been a while.
No worries. It's good to speak to you again.
Good. So, have you been listening to any podcasts or any channels like in the space lately? I know you're busy, but have you been catching anything?
Not really. Like, I caught a few Abba and Preach videos here and there, but I haven't really been in the kind of manosphere space really recently. Mainly because, like you said, I've had so much going on. Okay. I've been a bit busy. So, yeah. But that's what you're here for. You're here to catch me up. So I'll give that job to you today.
Well, you know what? It's crazy because I've been focusing so much on my channel, like the stuff that takes place behind the camera as well as in front of the camera, that I haven't really had time to watch other people's content. And I was having a conversation with Duke like a week or two ago, like a week and a half ago probably, and we were both just laughing because we were looking at some of the titles and the thumbnails for the trending videos, and he just was like, man, I can't talk about this shit every day because it doesn't even affect me. And I was like, bro, I feel the same way. Like, I got a girlfriend and I've been with her for 2 years, and I'm not going through what men are going through with women currently.
Yeah.
So it's not hard for me to give a perspective, and it's not hard for me to understand it and give advice. Actually, if anything, I feel like it's even easier now because I have the bird's eye view, I'm so far removed from it that I'm looking at it from somewhere completely different. And because I'm not having these emotions, my advice and my answers and my perspective don't even come from a convoluted place. And I feel like a lot of the content creators, because they're in the echo chamber, they're still stuck on the women bad, the system's against us, red pill, oh no, now it's black pill, now it's, you know what I mean? They're still coming from that perspective. Whereas when I'm dealing with someone, I'm dealing with that person and that man's situation and experience. I'm not it's not polluted with it's feminism's fault and she's gonna do this and
tarring them all with the same brush,
Right. I'm just okay, bro, what's your situation? Okay, tell me about the girl that you're dealing with. All right, let me tell you where you fucked up at. This is why it's your fault, and this is the starting point where you initially made all these mistakes, and this is what you can or can't do from this point moving on and so on. Whereas in the space, all he's gonna get is women are bad. this is what women do.
Yeah, it's an echo chamber, like you said. You put it really well.
Right.
The community itself is quite, I don't want to say incestuous, if that's not what I need to say, but that's how I feel it is. They're just kind of all up in each other's faces all the time, and everybody's kind of patting each other on the back, and I don't necessarily think it's the healthiest thing for young, impressionable men.
Yeah, and I think that's what's happening to the men and the women, because they're like on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat on a daily basis. So I feel like the men, once they've been hurt or once they have an issue with a woman, now they're susceptible to all of that negative feedback about women.
Same with females.
No. Females, I think it's a little bit different. Because with
it is slightly different.
Yeah,
but
with the guys, it's like, it's all fine and dandy until, you know, I'm going through a divorce. It's all fine and dandy until this chick takes my kid and is making it difficult for me to spend time with my kid. Or it's all fine and dandy until I catch my woman cheating on me. You know, it's all fine and dandy until then. And then it's like this inpour of, this is what women do, therefore it was inevitable. And now the problem with that is it doesn't become a, what did I do wrong? What should I have done different? Why didn't I see this coming? It doesn't become any of that. It just becomes, this was bound to happen, bro, because this is women. This is all of them. And there's no hope.
It's a very defeatist attitude.
Right. So you need to just leave women alone completely. You need to hate women. You need to not trust women. You need to never love a woman. Why do you need a woman anyway? Women are useless. They have nothing to offer in a relationship. They're not girlfriend material these days. Modern women are trash. It's like, whoa. Bro, you chose the wrong bitch. Chill. You know what I'm saying? Chill. I assure you, you chose the wrong chick. Are good women in the minority? Yes, but let me tell you a secret. By definition, valuable things are in the minority. Like, that's part of the definition of valuable, is like hard to find, like better than the rest.
Yeah.
So from a mathematical and a logical standpoint, like, what the fuck? A valuable woman would have always had to be the lesser of the women. Now, are women in general bringing less to a relationship these days? Yes. I 100% agree with that definition. But, are men bringing the same to relationships as they did in the past? Absolutely not. So it's equal on both sides. Men aren't bringing as much to a relationship anymore either. Now we can argue whether or not that's because women can work now, and we can argue whether or not it's because modern technology has done a lot of what you would require the other gender to do. You can say women don't cook and clean anymore. Well, I mean,
I don't think it's that black and white.
Right. We spent, you know, decades creating all of this equipment and all of this technology so that women didn't have to hand wash clothes anymore. They didn't have to slave over the stove anymore. You know what I mean? So we do have a lot of modern technology that would make it so that women wouldn't focus on developing these skills. And then you can say the same about men. Like, men used to have to physically fix and build majority of shit themselves in the house and in the relationship, whereas now a lot of that's automated too. So technology in modern society has put both of the genders out of business in a lot of areas. Much like nobody has a house phone anymore. Well, no shit, everybody has a cell phone now. So yeah, things are gonna change. Nobody has a horse anymore. Everybody has a car now, right? So yeah, that's gonna change the need for certain things. Look at the bond that a person had with their horse, you know, 300 years ago. You know, 100 to 300 years ago, your horse was
natural progression.
Right. But now people don't even have horses, let alone a relationship or a bond with your horse. Now, how I would say social media is affecting the women differently is the women don't need to have experienced that to be affected by it. They just simply open up their Instagram and they look at the memes and the shorts and the reels that other women are putting out, and that's where their head is at now. You see what I'm saying? So if a girl is 16, 17 and she's on social media, and all the adult women, all the good-looking women that she looks up to and have a following are saying, I'm strong, I'm independent, I don't need a man for nothing, and da-da-da-da, she's gonna be like, well, shit, I don't need a man either. That's what I'm aspiring to be, is I wanna be hot like her. I wanna go get my boobs done like her. I wanna have 50,000 followers like her. You know what I mean? I wanna get the bag like her. I wanna drive that car like her. I wanna travel every month like her. And if she's saying she don't need a man and a man prevents her from doing this, well, guess what? I don't want a man either, and a man's going to prevent me from doing all this. So that's why I think that's somewhere I see social media influencing men and women differently.
I agree.
You feel what I'm saying? Because men don't listen to other men until there's a problem.
Yeah.
That's when they care what other men are posting.
I would agree.
Right. So
it might not be like all the time, but I think that generally speaking, that tends to be how it goes.
So I mean, tell us a little bit about you, your age, how long you've been with this particular guy, and like what is the fabric of your relationship with him? Like, what made you decide to like have this boyfriend, or were you always like, relationship minded?
I've gone through stages where I have been, and stages where I haven't been, but I'm 28, by the way. Sorry, I kind of started off on the last bit of your question. I'm 28. I'm obviously from London, like you said, and I've been with my boyfriend for, I'd say, coming up to about a year and a half. Yeah, or maybe a bit longer now.
So longest relationship in general?
Oh, with this guy.
This is the longest you've been in a relationship?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, this is new territory for you.
Yeah, but I'm in it with the best person, I think. I didn't go through very nice relationships in the past, so just having someone who's caring is a change, and yeah, it's just a new experience throughout the whole journey so far, and I liked it, so.
Are you trying to tell us that you've been dealing with only fuckboys up until this point?
Not only fuckboys, a few fuckboys. There's not only fuckboys.
Or are you saying that the guys in that part of the world aren't as affectionate or as gentlemanly as you would like? What do you mean by someone that's kind? You have to elaborate a little bit on that. Like what? So what were the other guys like that is such a contrast about this guy?
So it's not so much that they were like bad people or anything like that. I think generally with dating, there seems to be an attitude of kind of what's the most that I can get for myself from this. And I find for me that doesn't really gel well with me, especially not long term, because I don't see how it's going to work if it's always sort of one person doing everything they can for the other and not really the other way around. So the difference with this guy being that it feels more equal. It feels like we're both giving the same effort rather than one-sided, either one way or the other.
For me, you would still have to explain a little more because I'm trying to figure out what could they want, like what could they be trying to get out of it? Because my perspective, obviously might be different than whatever type of guy you're talking about. But in my mind, what is it that a man is going to be trying to actively get out of a woman that's a monetary gain besides sexual access and cooperation? And me personally, if I'm asking a woman to cooperate with me, it's not from a selfish standpoint. It's the better I can perform is the better I can provide. So what are some examples of what these guys are trying to take advantage of you for? What are they trying to get? You're talking about money, taking care of
it's not even so much taking advantage or anything like that. It's just more of a case of you're there more for, it's almost like your arm candy sometimes, whereas that a relationship is supposed to be a bit more substance. So if you don't feel like you're really getting to know the person below like skin deep, and that continues being the case for a prolonged period, then it doesn't kind of bode well for character, I don't know.
He's not asking you your favorite color?
Yeah, exactly. Just sort of little things like that. And people can be interesting and funny without necessarily having to constantly ask you questions as well. It's just that sometimes I think it's nice being on a more even keel with people, whereas when it's lopsided, nobody has a good experience, I don't think.
Okay, no, I mean, I definitely agree with that. So is marriage, like, is this something that you're talking about, thinking about, discussing? What's the plan there? Because you are coming up
Yeah.
on 30. So
Yeah, I know, right? Tell me about it. Yeah, so possibly one day, I think, yeah, that would be the goal for us to eventually getting married and moving in and buying a house and the whole shebang.
okay, and met the parents type stuff, or you guys are holding off on that?
Sorry, say that again.
I said met the parents, or you guys are holding off on that?
I've met his dad, yeah, but my mum is no longer with us, and neither is his. So it's kind of I've met family, yeah, and each side has met each other's family. So yeah,
All right. Well, that sounds like something you guys got in common. That sounds like a nice little
yeah,
tradition you guys can start, where you visit each other's mothers on a particular day of the year
yeah.
together. Well, at least that's something I would do if I was in that situation. Let me get a shout out to Alex Schmidt for the $2 super chat. What separates London from the other major cities? Well, other major
What, in the
US.
UK
Well, he said
or
US.
the world?
He said US, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
He said, what separates London from other major US cities? Well, have you been to the US?
I haven't personally, but my auntie is from London and she lives in the US at the moment. So I know a little bit from her experience where she's told me sort of firsthand and from what I've seen in the media, essentially. But from what I can tell, I think it's more approachability in places like London or major UK cities is people aren't too approachable. You're kind of off in your own world. You don't really want to be disturbed by other random members of the public. So I find that the way that you guys show dating to be in the US, everyone's a bit more approachable in person. So you can go up to someone and say hi, maybe. Like, I know that there are guys that say they struggle and they can't approach women and this and that, but I tell you what, try doing it to a girl from South London and you're not just going to get rejected, you might get punched in the face. It's
No, definitely. English girls are a lot snobbier. Yeah, they're snobby as shit.
Yeah, they can be quite.
They're definitely pretty snobby.
Sassy.
I mean, I've been to London. The thing is, I haven't been to London like recently. Like I haven't been to London as an adult. So, I can't say too much, but I do know from interacting with girls from London or the girls that live in London, when they come, on my soil, on my turf, because obviously I live in Miami, so it is the most internationally visited hub in America, by far in America, and it's like, I think it's number 2. I'm pretty sure it's number 2 right now in the world. Number 1 used to be New York, but ever since COVID, now Miami is the number 1 most internationally visited hub, meaning the most people from other countries visit Miami. So yes, I've definitely encountered, casually dated, and messed with many girls from London, just not on London soil. And they are pretty stuck-up, snobby women. And I would say they're only seconded by Australian women, depending on what part of Australia. Like chicks from Sydney, good lord.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying that from a position of failure, because fortunately I'm like, chestnut mahogany and I have dreadlocks, so I get a little bit more leeway because that's unique to them, so they have a higher level of acceptance or tolerance for guys that look like me. But generally speaking, how they deal with most guys, especially white guys, they are pretty bitchy. Real quick, I see some bad advice in the chat, so I gotta address it because I actually care about men getting good results. So if you're gonna give advice in my chat, guys, it has to be good advice. And I seen a dude in here asking, how do you meet women in a small town? And then some guy gave literally the opposite advice. He says, no, go to major cities. That's like fucking retarded, brother. We tell guys that are struggling in major cities to get girls from small towns. So why are you giving him the reverse advice? And if he's having a hard time meeting girls in a small town, he's definitely not going to excel with girls in major cities. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, dude who asked that question, I'm trying to find it again. Hold on, there's a lot of stuff in the chat here. Hold on. Let me see if I can find this guy real quick. But just your opinion as a lady, who do you think is easier to talk to, girls from major cities or from smaller towns?
Smaller towns, easily. Just because, like I said, in the city, people aren't approachable. You've got your headphones on all the time. You don't really want to be spoken to by people, so you're more likely to get rejected if you're going to try and hit on someone in a major city, especially if it's busy, especially if there's a crowd and everybody just wants to keep it moving.
Mm-hmm.
You're not keeping it moving, you're stopping them. So
yeah, because I mean, those girls, number one, are always in a rush, and number two, by the time you've spoken to them, if it's afternoon, they've already been hit on about 11 times since they left their house in the morning.
They've had somebody shout out a car, especially when they beep their horns at you and you've got your headphones in, and it scares you so badly that you jump, and then they laugh at you for jumping. That's the kind of the kind of shit you get. That's before you've even got to work. So yeah, it's easier in a smaller town.
Because what happens is, the guys that are going to do the most hitting on are the guys that care the least about rejection. And unfortunately, the guys that are exercising that strategy or that thought process, that resilience, are the guys who actually care little about the results as well. Unfortunately. Yeah. So I keep telling guys, stop worrying about this fear of rejection. Stop worrying about all of that. And stop letting that be why you're afraid to say something. Because now what happens is the only guys that are saying something are the assholes. And the assholes are saying something because they don't care. Right? Mm-hmm. Right? So that's what happens. There was a time when I was the only dude running around inviting girls to come on a podcast. Well, now the guys that are doing that the most are the fucking assholes, the biggest assholes in the space. So now when you try to ask girls to come on your podcast, no matter who you are, they're going to say, oh, hell no, we don't do podcasts, no podcasts. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, oh no, because of this particular channel, now females in general don't want to go on podcasts with male hosts. Yeah, so you see what I mean? And it's simply because they've been doing the most asking. They've been doing the most inviting. So now they represent guys with podcasts that would like to speak to women. Because that's how women perceive it if that's who's doing it the most. Right? So now everyone who's doing it on a smaller scale or doing it less frequently, now they get represented by that image, which is a negative image, which spikes a defense mechanism in women. So they say no and close their ears. They don't even want to hear the rest. The same exact thing happens with hitting on women. If the only guys hitting on women are the assholes, now women are going to be closed off to men in general. So when you walk up and say, hello, how are you? Say, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you. Yeah. And it's like, damn, bitch, I wasn't even going to hit on you. I was going to actually tell you something plutonic that had nothing to do with sleeping with you. But those are the only men that approach you. Shoe, but right. But those are the only men that approach you. So you have this this force field up, right? So for example, in America, you can be like, yo, go to the store and get me some Vaseline. It's not called Vaseline. It's called petroleum jelly. Okay. You view it as Vaseline because that company is the most successful. That company is the one that's got the most exposure. So now you think the product itself is called Vaseline when that's the brand. It's the same thing with Viagra. Everybody keeps calling it Viagra. It's Cetaphil. But you think of it as Viagra because that's the brand that's most popular. Hey, go to the store and pick up some Pampers. No, you mean go to the store and pick up some diapers. Those diapers happen to be made by Huggies or made by Pampers. But the actual thing that you want are diapers. So I'm just giving examples of how the human brain works. So if the only guys doing something are assholes, women brand all guys now that might do that an asshole automatically. So we have to stop letting the assholes win is what I'm trying to say. And the guys need to start getting out there and being more animate. But I found the guy. The guy's name is Shumba, and he says, how do you meet girls in a small town? And this guy says, leave the small town and go to a large city. Absolutely not. If you want to just sleep with women, you would have a better chance in a major city. If you're trying to actually have a relationship and something meaningful with women, you actually have the advantage in the small town. Okay? So what you need to do is start practicing approaching women, talking to women, interacting with women, communicating with women, so you won't be asking such an open-ended question. The way you ask the question lets us know that you are so far removed from what's required that you're going to ask the question so broad. How do you meet girls in a small town? My dude, how old are you that you're asking that question like that? Because to me, that's very telling. You can meet women anywhere, any way. So you see what I'm trying to say? The fact that you're asking the question like that means you're applying yourself zero. Because what you're really trying to say is, how do you get success? I can't tell you that. What I can tell you is how you can at least start, and then we can figure out what you're doing wrong with that particular method or that particular strategy. But you're asking the question from a position of avoiding rejection, avoiding failure, avoiding all of these things, and wanting a guarantee going in. That's the problem with a lot of you young guys, is that the way your mind is set up is that you want guaranteed results. Now I'm gonna say something. If you're gonna get offended, I don't know what to tell you, bro. You're not gonna get better if this offends you. That is a female thought process. That is a female state of mind. Women want to do things only when it's guaranteed not to be painful, guaranteed not to fail, guaranteed not to hurt, guaranteed not to make them cry, guaranteed. That's what they want. So when women say, oh, I like dad bods, what they're saying is, I just want a guy where there's no chance of him leaving me or cheating on me or replacing me with a better looking girl. That's what they're saying. They're saying, I'm terrified unless you can guarantee me that this guy isn't going to do these things because he doesn't have the ability to, because he's not even attractive enough to. And the only girl that's going to say that to you is a girl who's already tried to date good looking guys and it hurt because he cheated on her or he did something with another girl, whatever. And that pain made her say, you know what? From now on, I want the guarantee that this guy won't cheat on me again. So I'm keeping it 100 with you guys. How you young dudes keep saying, I'm keeping it a buck. I'm keeping it a buck. When you ask questions that way, that lets me know that that's what your thought process is how do I meet girls without there being any possibility of it not going the way I'd like it to go? That's the first way to not get women. That's the first way to not have success with women, is being terrified that you won't. That way you can start putting yourself out there, start taking chances with them, and eventually you'll start learning what works better for you as an individual. Because what works for you might not work for the next guy. What works for the next guy might not work for you. The only way you're going to figure that out, I hate to say it this way, is but by failing. You're going to have to fail a couple of times and get comfortable and confident in the fact that that might happen, but I'm still going to shoot my shot. I'm still going to keep on trying, and maybe 10 girls make you feel bad, 10 girls hurt your feelings, 10 girls turn you down, but that 11th girl, she's feeling you.
Right, just say yes.
Right, and then you can work up until where you find failure with her now. So with her, she might actually talk to you, she might actually give you the number, she might actually meet you for coffee, but then now when you try to touch her panties, that's the girl that's like, oh no, I did. See, now you have a new hurdle to overcome. That's how it works. But for some reason, you guys think that you're going to be sitting at home, never had a good experience with women whatsoever, and somebody's going to tell you this surefire way to meet a girl who's going to acquiesce to everything that you want, and somehow it's going to work. It doesn't work that way, guys. It's a numbers game for all of us. I don't care, the best looking guys, the whatever. It's still going to be a numbers game. Just some guys, they have a higher percent closing rate than you do. So yeah, that's a long-winded answer, but it's a hell of a lot better than move out of the small city, move out of the small town, move to a major city. And then what? And then what? Be at more of a disadvantage. There'll be more beautiful girls, but you'll have less of an advantage. So wait, how big is the city that you live in, relatively?
What, me?
Yeah, you're like in a major city or more so?
London, it's one of the biggest cities. There's several million people living in it. I'd compare it to New York.
Okay, so what I meant was like, so you're in the more crowded part of London is what I'm saying.
Oh, right. I'm like, so London it's got like suburby bits as well. So I'm in a suburby bit-ish. Mm-hmm. And I say suburb, it's still quite city-like, but compared to the centre of London, it's a bit nicer, like a bit more chill. There's parks and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Liberty Sports says you have to get used to rejection and still go for it. It will help you get better at communicating with people in general. One of the most important skills you can have. Well, listen, There's a reason why women like shit that they don't possess. There's a reason why women like a chiseled ass jaw. Because if a woman has a chiseled ass jaw, she looks like a man. Because there's a lot of women that have a square jaw and people be quick to say, oh damn, she look like a man. Okay? So right there, that's telling you women like things that are opposite to them, things they don't have. Women like guys with beards. Well, guess what? Women don't grow beards. And I just finished telling you that women are terrified of rejection. I know you guys have heard that before in the space. But again, things are just said too remedial to you guys. There's never a real explanation to it. It's like, oh, and it's always said from like a hateful place. Like, oh, women hate the rejection. You want to hurt a girl, reject her. It's like, dude, that shouldn't be your interest in why women hate rejection or why they're so adverse to rejection. What you should be doing is using that to your advantage. If women are stinged so bad by rejection, they can't handle it. Guess what they're attracted to? Oh my God, this is gonna blow your mind. Oh my God, it's gonna blow your mind, guys. You know what women are attracted to? Guys that can handle rejection. What? Yes.
And don't turn into a whiny bitch when they get rejected.
Right, because it's a resilience that they don't have. So if you're a dude that's over here avoiding interacting with women because, oh my God, she might reject me. That's why you're not getting girls right there. That right there is exactly why you're not getting girls. All right? So to hit on a woman is already a compliment of enough. Guys be coming over there telling girls, oh my God, you're so beautiful. And stand up straight, put your chest up, hold your chin up, and talk to her like a man. And then she will already know that she's beautiful because this confident dude is approaching her. So whether or not she's interested in you, she's already received the nonverbal compliment because you're approaching her. You didn't approach that old hag over there. Okay, you didn't approach that land whale over there. Okay, you didn't approach that effeminate dude. Okay, you didn't approach the guy in drag. You approached her. That means that out of all the people in the vicinity, she's what you're attracted to. All right? So such statement has already been made. Now, make yourself interesting, get to the point, and then get the fuck up out of there. That's what you need to do. Don't be shaking in your boots. Just, hey, how are you doing? It's really nice to meet you. Are you available? Are you seeing someone? Are you from here? Whatever you got to say. Exchange the contact, social media, phone number, whatever. Get the hell out of there and move on to the next one. You guys make that part so much harder than it has to be. It's not a big deal. If she doesn't answer the phone, gives you the wrong number, says she's not interested, what would be the result difference as if you didn't talk to her at all? The difference would be you got the experience of talking to this woman, interacting with this woman. You got comfortable with approaching a stranger. And you also are used to not every woman saying yes to you. But as far as getting her, you're even. If you never spoke to her at all, you wouldn't have got her. You spoke to her and you didn't get her. So as far as that's concerned, you're even. But as far as you gaining experience, you're up. You're up on that. Okay? Developing your confidence, you're up on that. Developing thicker skin, you're up on that. So I keep telling you guys, learn to flirt with women, learn to talk to women, and gradually practice all the other stuff. Stop making it hard. The effort you took to ask me how do you meet women, take that same effort to go meet a woman. How about that? Same amount of effort. Same amount of effort. All right, let's see what else is in here. Adam Max says, truth. All right, so Sophia, what age are we gonna make some babies?
What?
At what age are we gonna make some babies?
What age?
Yeah, because I'm about to get into the single mother epidemic that you guys got going on in the UK, because I heard it's getting real bad.
Oh, good grief, yeah. I'm not having babies until I'm in my 30s, I don't think, but I don't think it's the same for other women, clearly.
Yeah, but why? Why the delay?
Why the delay? Because babies cost money.
Okay.
Time and effort and stability and yeah, I like. Why would I want that with some random baby daddy? It needs to be with someone that's actually going to be there for my kid. You know. You've
been with this guy for a year plus, year and a half, going on more, right? So you can't be with him for less than a year and a half. It's impossible. You've already been with him for a year and a half. There are many people that have had babies knowing each other less time. In fact, that's the norm, right? So that's one thing. So you can't use the whole get to know each other thing. The next thing is, age-wise, you are more than of age. You can't say I'm too young. You're not too young. So
Yeah.
the age thing is out the window. Then you said that this guy he's caring, he's considerate, okay? And he's obviously been committed to you thus far. All right? Now, are you insinuating that this guy might love you more than he loves his own child? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
That he loves me more than he would love his own child.
Is that what you're suggesting?
Not necessarily, but I'm sure. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying really, but all I know is I am not ready to have kids, and I've discussed that with him, and he's okay with it. But in terms of why, I think that's subjective. Some women are ready to have kids at 18 and are like, yeah, I'm on it. I'm ready to look after somebody else. Yes, I'm more than of age. I am technically, legally, very much an adult, but it doesn't mean I want all those responsibilities yet.
Okay, so what I'm getting is with you, it's just a responsibility
Personal
thing,
choice.
and you being unsure of it because you haven't. Because you do all that does change once you have a child.
Yeah, it throws a lot of, you can't just hand them back to somebody else. It's not like a puppy that you can send to be dog sat somewhere, but it's like,
Have you had a puppy?
it's a human baby. Yeah.
So you've had pets before.
I've had pets before, but in terms of the puppy, that was my sister's puppy, so it wasn't.
Well, have you ever had a pet that was your responsibility?
Yeah, I've got a cat.
Okay, well, cats don't count. They don't take much. They don't take much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right? Thank you. It's
Right.
the same reason I don't have a dog.
Yeah,
It's
well,
a lot of time, a lot
see-
of money, a lot of effort.
See, what I'm getting at is that majority of babies throughout time have not been planned.
No, that's fair.
Even babies born in wedlock, a lot of times they've not been planned. More times than not, they haven't been planned. So I have to be realistic in saying is that's not necessarily essential in having a good family.
No.
If anything,
No, it's not. Just for me personally, it's something that I wanted. So, but yeah, I
Right.
agree with you. I think you don't have to have all that lined up and perfect just to have kids. It's just
right.
Yeah.
But it creates the motivation is what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of people
Yeah.
who were good people, but they became great people once they brought children into the equation because that became the absolute priority and it brought the best out of them. So you don't strike me as someone that's not going to be able to handle a baby, and your guy doesn't seem like he's going to all of a sudden become a different person. I don't see him changing
No.
his character because
No.
he's unexpectedly a father or abruptly a
Yeah.
father or things weren't perfect
If
when he
I'm-
became a father.
if I'm honest, right, kids change a lot about the relationship as well. It's not just oh, let's have some kids because we love each other. That's great. That's a great premise to have kids on. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of very real world stresses that happen when you have children, real world pressures, things that can put a strain on any healthy relationship. So when it comes to not only my lived experience, but just stuff I've witnessed, hearsay from other people as well about their own lives. It's kind of, I can see why, for me personally, holding back is better, but that doesn't negate those people. It's just I don't want to necessarily put the same strain on my relationship right now. And that's a choice that I've made. But if it was to happen and it was accidental, it doesn't mean that deciding to have it would be bad. It wouldn't be bad either way. It's just if I have a choice around it.
You wouldn't have a choice at that point. The only choice you would
No, it
have
would
is
be-
child sacrifice or just having your baby, which is a normal part of life, especially being a woman. Abortion is not a choice or an option. It's murder. And nobody's ever going to tell me otherwise. Abortion
Okay.
is child sacrifice. And I say that because the people that set up the abortion clinics, that's why they set up the abortion clinics. People just don't know that. They're sacrificing these children to Moloch. You don't have to believe that if you don't want, but if you read into the people who started these things, yes, they are part of that society, and that is the deity that they worship, and sacrificing children has been going on for
I've heard of it.
thousands of
I've heard of
years.
the cult.
Right, it's just futuristic and advanced now, and it has a different name, and they're getting people to do it. Well, it was always done willingly. Even back in the day, thousands of years ago, these parents were willing. They were willingly sacrificing their children. Now they just
in many cultures.
Right, now they just do it in a different way. So yeah, keeping the child would be the sound thing to do. But what I'm saying is that who's to say that what you're doing right now won't be viewed as a mistake later on? Because later on you might say, well, you know what? I wish I had my children earlier, or I wish. You see what I mean?
Maybe so. And I think had you have asked me as a kid if I wanted parents that might have been a bit younger, maybe I would have said yes. But at the end of the day, I'm here, and I'm lucky I had caring parents, or caring mother anyway. And I'm lucky that I have the family I have and stuff. So yeah, it's a good thing, but I wouldn't say that I would regret it if it was to come to in future, if I didn't have kids, for instance. I think there's other options as well. There's forms of adoption and fostering you can do. There's other things you can dedicate your life to if that doesn't end up being your calling.
Well, I'm an advocate for couples being conscious of time, and children being born under a union of man and woman, whether it be marriage or not, because I don't have faith in the contract made with the state anyway. For me, it's just about the two people staying together under the same household. And I'm not trying to give you a hard time. It's just, I'm trying to get to the understanding of it the same way I would be poking at a woman that is having a baby in her early mid-20s with a guy that she's not with and not living with. To me, I just see two extremes. I either see women that are having babies by men that they're not with, or I see women putting off having babies that are with a guy, and then I'm just so confused because I'm like...
Mainly because there's also this kind of social stigma around it as well for women. Do you want to be a single mum at 18? And it's kind of it's not that saying it's a bad thing, but it is still highly stigmatized by a lot of men. So when it comes to dating propositions or any kind of market in future, your kid's always going to be a part of that, and you're always going to have to factor in as well. So for me, it's always been easier navigating life without having the babies at a young age. So it's for me personally, it's worked, but I don't blast women that have had kids young, because some women feel this maternal pull and this maternal instinct kick in from a young age, and I think that's absolutely fine. It's just, for me, it hasn't been that way. So, but I get what you're saying. It's two extremes.
That's actually not what I see in modern day. I don't see it being an urge to have babies, or that they're ready to have babies. I just simply see women trying to keep a guy with a baby, trap a guy with a baby, or maybe they were irresponsible with their womb and they didn't want to do the abortion thing. So I don't necessarily see that being the case. If that was the case, then the women would be trying to pressure the guy to get married and move in and that kind of stuff. And I definitely don't see that. But I'm going there next with it because, like I said, I see that being a big issue in the UK, and I have some thoughts or theories as to why that's becoming such an issue in that particular part of the world. But just to touch on your situation once more before I leave you alone, so I'm bothering you about it. But you mentioned things like that children cost money, and it being a financial thing, and then it's but you and your guy don't live together. So I imagine that you're paying expenses and he's paying expenses. Whereas if you guys were to fall under the same roof and save for maybe a year or so, now not only does having a baby become a lot more, realistic, but it actually, in some ways, would be less than what you guys are spending to live separate.
I see what you're saying, but we're in quite a unique scenario, I think. He lives with family. I live in my family's house as well. I don't really have to pay an extortionate amount for rent. I'm lucky enough that I'm just paying basic expenses, which is obviously still expensive and it's still a cost. But no, for me, it's more of a case of like, yes, there's a financial aspect, and babies are always going to leak money. That's it. From the age of 0 to 18, they're going to leech money from you, and it's not a case of like they're doing it purposely, but you're bringing a life into the world, and that costs money to upkeep. So yeah, there's that side of things, but it's like responsibility too, and the kind of, you're not just responsible for their life and protecting them and that side of things, but you're responsible for if they become a menace. What if your kid becomes the one that is hurting others or doing those horrible things?
Here's the thing though, Sophie. Here's the thing. Okay. Well, okay, we'll address these two things that I want to say about what you just said, and we'll do it backwards so that we don't lose the train of thought. Part of the reason why I'm pressuring women in your situation to have children is because, I don't say pressuring, but I'm recommending, is because the reason why we have so many issues in our society, the Western society, is because, just like I was saying about the assholes with the biggest platform interviewing women being the ones bringing on the most women, they represent all of us. The guys having the balls to go talk to girls being the biggest assholes, now what happened is they represent all of us. You see what I mean? So
I see what you're saying.
So when the people who don't really give a shit about procreating and bringing kids into the world are making the most babies,
they're the ones.
Now we have the kids that grow up to be a problem to society. They grow up and be a menace to society because their father wasn't calculated and didn't stick around. The mother wasn't calculated and didn't choose well with the father. So now we get bastard children that wreak havoc on society. Whereas someone like you that has so many concerns, so many reservations, your character is not going to dramatically change because you become a mother. So if you're concerned about these things now, you're going to be a concerned mother. You're going to be an engaged mother. You're going to be thinking about this. I do not want to raise a child that's not, well-adjusted. I don't want to raise a child that has terrible manners. I don't want to raise a child that's going to be a problem to society. Now, if you're thinking like that, and the kid's father is thinking also that he wants to be a good father, he wants to make sure that his children are well-adjusted, that they're getting the type of attention that they need, the type of discipline that they need, and so on and so forth, we need people like that so that we're not outnumbered, by the Tyrones or whatever you want to call them, that's running around and knocking up all these multiple women, having us responsible people thinking to ourselves, okay, so the first time around, you can sit here and blame it on the chick. You can say, oh man, I thought she was on birth control, but she wasn't. But bro, you got 3 kids. You got 3 kids.
Yeah, come on
women,
now.
so it can't be the character of the women. And even if it is, these are the women that you're skeeting in. These are the women that you're nutting up in. So how did it happen to you 3 times? And then when you look at the women, it's like, how did you get pregnant by this dude who already had kids by other women and he wasn't taking care of them? That blows my mind when chicks say, oh, my baby daddy ain't shit. Yeah. And they come to find out he already had a kid or 2 by other women and he wasn't shit to those kids. So what made you think that your pussy was going to turn him into a responsible father? What made you think your pussy was going to make him be a stand-up dude all of a sudden? And he's already has a history of not being a present father or a history of messing with low-quality women.
Women kind of sometimes, I think, like to skip over the finer details maybe when it comes to like the negative aspects to a relationship, and it's like, maybe everything will be fine if we have a baby together.
Exactly. They're always trying to change somebody.
Yeah, they think, if this happens and it's life-changing, then we'll be okay because we'll be different, but you're still the same people. So you're just going through that
They think that they're special. For some reason, women always want to
Yeah.
think that they're special enough to get a different result than everyone else got with that same thing. Yeah, all these other
Yeah.
girls did porn, but somehow I'm going to get a better result. All these other girls are doing OnlyFans, somehow I'm going to get a better result. All these other girls went and got pregnant by this guy or messed with this guy, and he didn't commit to any of them, but somehow I'm going to be different.
He's going to commit to me.
Yeah, that's just something that it's like women are trying to artificially create this outcome that they want to make themselves feel good about themselves, and the end result is I want to feel good about myself. That's the end result, is that it's all from my own ego. So let me pretend to have a great time at this club and post it on social media so that people think somehow my life is better than theirs. It's the weirdest thing to me. Instead of putting effort into actually making your situation genuinely better by making better decisions and applying yourself. But the other thing that I was going to mention to you is, don't tell me that you live with your family, and don't tell me that this guy lives with his family. Because I'm Jamaican, so I believe in it takes a village to raise a child. So that sounds like even more of a reason to bring a baby.
I know, it's funny because his family's Jamaican too.
Yeah, so aunts, uncles, grandparents. I think it's even better when there's other adults in the house or other children. Yeah. So
his nieces and nephews they've all got the whole family there. Like I don't know, they've got multiple aunties and uncles. They've got granddad, grandma, and it's nice that they've got that kind of support to raise the kids.
It's normal. The problem is that we've been taught something else is normal. This Western family structure is not what's normal.
Oh yeah.
Children are supposed to be born into big families that are pre-existing. They're supposed to be celebrated as new life, and also they're supposed to be in villages or communities where the neighbors interact with each other and have some type of kinship. That's normal. As far as how our DNA is set up, how our biology is set up, that's how we are designed to be socialized, to interact socially. So even going to school with other kids is not natural because those kids are strangers. They don't live necessarily in the same village, so to speak. So when you say, like, you know, hey, you're living with your family, listen, if there's space, that's actually better for children. Because when children are small, they're not going to say, oh, I hate living with grandpa and grandma. I hate the fact that I have older cousins here. Oh, it just sucks so much that I have cousins to play with every day. I hate this. I know I hate having grandparents that are going to spoil me, give me ice cream when I'm not supposed to have it. This really sucks that I get so many gifts on Christmas. How dare they? I would rather just live with my mom and dad and only be limited to the attention I get from them, you know? This is too much attention for me. I don't like it. No kid says that. So like, out of all the things that Cam Newton said recently, I don't know if you're familiar with it because you're across the pond, but he made comments about the quality of women today, comparing what we know as the bad bitch to what he considers a good woman. And out of all the comments that he made, the comments that he made that got the least attention, I thought was the most valuable. And that's when he was saying that he really appreciates the dynamic of the household he grew up in because he felt like he had three parents, because he grew up with his mother and his father and a grandparent. And that resonated with me because my father died when I was young, but I still came up in a household with my mother, my grandmother, my grandfather, and my aunt. And we even had a tenant because the house had 4 floors. So on the first floor, before you got to the basement, you came in like a foyer, and the first floor was like turned into its own like apartment. And my grandparents rented it out to a carpenter named Mr. Stanley. And he was like an uncle to me. So even having him was like extended family. Because I used to go fuck with him. I used to go bother him all the time, bro. When I was bored, I was like, yo, let me go fuck with Mr. Stanley. Let me go irritate the shit out of this old man. When he wasn't looking, I would steal quarters out of his change jar and go play the arcade. You know what I'm saying? When he was working, I'd go bother him, pass him his tools and learn, you know, what tools did what and whatever. So I'm just saying, for a child's development, Do you
Yeah,
understand what
it's
I'm
good.
saying? Having all
It's
these different
good.
people to go bother, because when you're a kid, you're irritating to these adults, and I make fun of him because Mr. Stanley could like smoke an entire cigarette without using his hand, like
Oh, that's jokes.
like once he lit the cigarette and put it in his mouth, he didn't touch the cigarette again until it was done, and I thought that was the funniest shit in the world.
That's a great party trick.
Right, but I'm just saying that I think it's healthy for children to be raised.
I would agree. I would agree. It's I've uh, I've had a mixture of big family and not so big family. So more recently, like my family's not that big. It's just me and my siblings now. So yeah, it's nice that my boyfriend's family is like that because it gives a nice change around like holiday times and special occasions feel a bit more special when you've got like kids running around, having fun and so that side of things, like family life, would be good. It's just sort of waiting for myself to kind of be ready, I suppose. And it's getting there.
I'm not gonna lie to you. You think I'm over talking
Yeah.
you, but I'm listening to you, and I'm not gonna let women talk themselves out of what their heart truly desires, because what's happening is the fear starts to cover up the desire. We can't live in fear. The Bible mentions this a ton of times. You cannot live in fear. So I already heard you said it, that you feel that this guy is going to be the best for you. You said that.
Yeah.
You said that you feel that he is compatible with you, right? So if you're already having this mindset that you're not wanting or expecting more, you're feeling fulfilled by this guy, I feel like this is a topic you and him need to discuss more thoroughly, but with the absence of fear. There's a difference between concerns and fear. Do you understand what I mean? So I think every reason that you've given me is not a reason not to. It's just simply a concern to address. Address the financial aspect of it. Address the living situation. You see what I mean?
It's funny you mention that, because we have discussed these things, and he agrees with sort of similar concerns. So it is kind of like we have set a sort of plan where it's like, okay, get the start of this career going, because he's just learned how to do computer programming and things like that. So a bunch of technical stuff that required a bunch of his time. So anyway, I said, get your career going and stuff. When everything's settled, then it's a good time to kind of not just address one side of things, which is financial in the career, but also the kind of stable side and living together and things like that. So it's good that you said that, because I actually think a conversation with him about it that's less based on this could happen or this could happen, and more so on if this happens we can do this.
Well, first of all, he has to ask himself what's his main source of motivation and ambition, because some guys just have an extremely competitive drive. Some guys need to sniff and smell some coochie to be motivated by, a woman or
He's
women.
competitive.
Right? But some guys, what really puts that kick to the ass and the pedal to the metal is mouths to feed. So there's definitely something to be said about how much having children motivates a man. When my niece was born, I was terrified. I was like, shit. My brother's been a lazy motherfucker.
So where's yours, Allende?
Huh?
Where's yours?
Well,
Come on.
We can get to that. But my brother, when he had a baby, part of me was super happy, because that was an issue for my grandfather, because I asked my grandfather, I asked his old ass, what's his bucket list? Because I was watching the movie with, Morgan Freeman and I forget the white dude's name, but they have a movie called Bucket List, where they're two old men that find out they're going to die soon, so they decide to go do all the things that they've always wanted to do before they die. So I was watching it with my grandfather, and I says, Dad, what's your bucket list? And
Mhm.
the three things he gave me, I had to laugh. I had to laugh in his face. He's really pissed. He said, I want to see the first black president. I want to have a white woman clean my toilets, not because my grandfather's racist,
Nice.
but because my great
No, that's
grandmother,
just funny.
well, my great grandmother used to clean white people's toilets.
Ah,
So
so
he
it'd
felt
be
like that
like
would
a
have been the
reverse.
ultimate change. Like that would have been the ultimate
Yeah.
contrast to go from his mother cleaning toilets to a
Yeah.
white woman cleaning his toilets. So trust me, there was no racial component. My grandfather was far
No, I get it.
from
I totally
racist.
understand.
And then the last thing was he wanted to finally see his great grandchildren, which at the
Oh,
time was funny because he had 15 grandchildren, and 10 of said grandchildren were already adults. They were already baby making age. And I says to him, I says, Dad, you're never gonna get a black president. You might as well give up on that shit. And I laughed at him. And I said, the other two things, we can make that happen at any moment. I can get a white girl to come over here right now and clean your toilets how you want it. And as far as a great grandchild, that can happen at any time also because you have so many grandchildren that are of age, that are in their 20s, late 20s at that. And he ended up getting Barack Obama in the office, ended up being the thing that happened first. And we celebrated that. We popped a couple of bottles. We drank his favorite drink at the time, which was cask and cream. And we just laughed at how the one that I said he wasn't going to get was the one that he got first. And then I said, Dad, when do you want me to schedule a white girl to come and clean your toilets? I'll make sure she's hot. And he said, you know what? Don't even worry about it. I don't even care about the other two things because I lived to see the first quote unquote black president. Even though that's arguable, I argue that Barack Obama is a black man. I think that he's a mulatto. Like, what the fuck? He's half black, half white. But in any event, my grandfather got that first. So when my brother had my niece, I thought, wow, my grandfather actually was able to get everything that was on his bucket list before he passed. And I said, that's just an amazing story for a man that came to this country with almost nothing and was able to become very successful and raise many children and many grandchildren and even great-grandchildren. Coming to America at an extremely racist time when it was really, really hard for black men, he still was able to persevere through all of that, giving no black man an excuse today. So that's why I don't want to hear any whining about racism and white supremacy and all sort of bullshit. I see men in my family make something out of nothing as black men. But back to my brother. My brother's always been a lazy bastard. So when he was having my niece, I thought to myself, oh my God, how is this going to work? And my brother ended up becoming very successful, very focused, very disciplined. And it was amazing because I know my brother ever since he's been alive. And I was thinking to myself, you've been lazy and lacked motivation your entire life. But having a daughter made him start his own business. He was running two different, because my brother's a chef. He was running two different kitchens at the same time. Then eventually started his own business, which I was telling him to do forever. COVID forced him to do that. So anyway, my point is that children have the ability to motivate the hell out of people, and that's why I don't necessarily think that being a parent before you're 100% confident that this thing is gonna be you're gonna have all the answers. I don't think that that's ever really going to be the case, man. I mean, I've seen rich people be paranoid about having babies, so I just don't want you to like be afraid of nothing when you might actually be a great mom.
Yeah, to be fair, yeah, my boyfriend has said this to me many a time. He's like, look at how there's some people out there in the world that are such shit parents. Like, you couldn't possibly do a worse job than them, right? And it's like, well,
So
I mean, you know what? Yeah, I kind of see what your point is, and it makes sense. So I think,
it brings people
it's just
together.
sometimes
It
a
brings
lot
people
of fear.
together if you guys have the same goal. If two people have the same goal, And I know you've heard horror stories and you see other people and you're like, what the fuck? I don't want to go through that. But you have to keep in mind, those other people. Those they ain't
Yeah.
you. That's other people. By definition,
Yeah,
that's
that's
other people. But I am going to answer your question about me and why I don't have children. And that, here's the thing. Now this, because you're going to say, oh, that's
we
the
need
same thing that
a
I
little
said.
Allende Junior.
Yeah, because you're going to be like, that's the same thing I said. But for a guy, I think it's a lot different. I think this doesn't fall into the category of fair or cold feet, because as a woman, at the end of the day, you have all the reproductive upper hands. You have all the rights, you have all the control. So it's your boyfriend that would really be taking the ultimate chance or risk as far as ownership over said new life. Whereas in a guy's position, what I'm terrified of, this is my only fear, to be honest with you, I'm not afraid of shit. This is the only thing that I'm afraid of in life. I'm more afraid of this than going bankrupt. I'm more afraid of this than dying, young or abrupt or whatever. This is the only thing that I'm afraid of, and that's having a child and a woman take that child from me, and me to ever be denied my rights as a father. And when I say rights, I'm not talking about the government talking about, because I don't give. I literally couldn't care less about this imaginary perceived authority that the government has. The government has no authority.
I think that's
over
quite
me.
funny, because I think a lot of men probably feel that way when it comes to the thought of having kids. Ones that want to have kids anyway, I think that if any concern it is that they've got, is that, like, it's a form of leverage for someone to have over you.
That's what
in
I'm
a way.
say. And I can never. So the point is that I can't leave that up to a woman, because like people ask me all the time, like, why don't you have children? I say, because I'm an American citizen. And they're like, what? I'm like, in this country, a man can't have kids. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, how are you defining have? Are you defining have as ownership, or are you defining have as in father? Yes, I can father children, but I cannot actually have children. I cannot possess children in this country. What I can do is I can interact with my children under the terms of the mother's discretion. That's what I can do. If the mother allows
the problem
me,
is,
right?
The problem is women using kids as weapons.
Right. If the mother allows me to have the false, comfort of of owning these children, but the moment that she changes her mind, those aren't my kids anymore. So that's like me having a car. The car's in my name. I'm responsible for the car note. I'm responsible for the car insurance. Right. I'm responsible for everything with that car. Right. If anything happens with that car, they can come to me. They can penalize me. If I get into an accident, it's on me. Everything's on me with the car. But there's another person that's co-signed to that car, that somehow that person can say, yeah, you're not allowed to drive the car today. You know what? You can't drive the car at all anymore. You know what? It's both of our cars, but we're going to keep it down at my place, and you don't have access to it. And I'll also let other men drive your car whenever I feel like it. Whenever I feel like it, I'll bring other men around your car. Like, wait, what? That's essentially what it is. So I'm on the hook financially, right? I'm on the hook biologically, but I have no say-so other than what the other person whose name is on that paperwork allows. So in other words, I'm technically asking permission either directly or indirectly. So if you're in a healthy relationship with a woman and you have children together and everything's fine and dandy in the West, you're still indirectly asking permission. Every time you lift up your child, it's under her approval though. Every time you take your kids somewhere, I was like, I didn't ask my wife to take my kids to go get ice cream. But if your wife had a problem with you taking your kids to get ice cream, she could simply just divorce you, and now she has full custody, and when you want to see your kids, you have to work it out with the judge and get a lawyer and all kind of middlemen, when there was no middlemen when you was busting up in her. When you was skeeting in her, there was no middleman. You see what I mean?
One thing I will say, I think that maybe being married might make it slightly I'm not going to say good, but like
It's just more
slightly better
paperwork.
for men. But yeah, I know it's more of a sense that legally speaking, you got that entitlement that anything in the relationship that happened after the marriage took place, including children, legally speaking, have to be split equally.
Yeah, but what I'm
Unless there's
saying
a
is
really
that's just paperwork
significant,
for her though. So like all getting
yeah,
married does is make it that she has to go through a couple more layers to take the kids
yeah,
from you. That's what I'm trying to say. So
yeah,
if you have the children
yeah, I
out
get
of
what you're saying.
wedlock, she already has that leverage. She already has that. If you decide to
Yeah,
marry her before you have the children or even after, still, that doesn't give you any more authority or any more ownership. It just simply means she has to go through some legal processes to take the kid from you. That's all that it means,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
If you're married to the woman and you take the kid somewhere and she calls the police and says, yo, he has my kids, the police are gonna be like, wait a minute, who has your kids? And they're like, my husband has the kids. It's like, wait a minute, is he the father of the children? Yeah, he's the father of the children
yeah.
and he's my husband. So what the fuck do you want us to do? That's not kidnapping. So now it's like, okay, let me go file for divorce. Let me go hire lawyers. Let me go through the process of divorce. Now we have to go through the process of family court. And 7 months later, now she can call and say, yeah, my ex-husband took my kids to get ice cream. Now it's kidnapping. You see
Yeah,
what I'm saying? So it's like, well,
yeah,
how is that the case when if we bring a specialist in and take blood samples, it's an equal amount of chromosomes here. So how is it that it's equal amount of blood, it's equal amount of DNA, it's equal amount of chromosomes, but somehow the woman has the upper hand simply because what? Because she gave
yeah,
birth, because she has that 9-month advantage. So you can't tell me that there's any logic behind it. It's just simply the court systems knows that they can manipulate and maneuver and control women better. So they use the women, weaponize the women against the men. So now what happens is she's the one that let the system into your house. She's the one that let the government into your house, and the government just wanted to get into your house. They just want to infiltrate
yeah,
your house. So if they're trying to infiltrate the Black Panthers or they're trying to infiltrate this organization or that organization, they just got to find somebody that they can turn on everyone else, whether it's
yeah,
emotional, financial, some type of physical threat, whatever. What person can we lean on and get them to let us in? Now that we're in, now we can control everybody. But how did we get in? We got in by the weakest link. And whether women want to hear this or not, they are the weakest link. Because how are you just going to talk a man into going against his wife? How are you going to talk a man into going against the mother of his children? But you can damn sure turn a woman against her man much easier than you could turn a man against his woman. And that's pretty much because of how the power dynamic is set up. Like, think about it. Are you going to set a boss against his employees, or are you going to turn the employees against the boss? I remember when I left the club, I had lawyers hitting me up trying to get me to testify against my old boss because other people had filed, lawsuits or whatever, trying to sue, for certain taxes and whatever kind of bullshit they were trying to sue for. And the lawyer was just basically trying to build a case with more plaintiffs so that the case was stronger in court. Like, yo, we got several employees saying that, they were paying this and that this business was not claiming them as employees and paying taxes on them. So technically speaking, they're owed blah, blah, blah settlement. The point I'm trying to make is, do you think they could have turned the owner against his employees? No, because the owner has authority over the employees anyway. You see what I'm trying to say? He could just fire them at any time or whatever. He dictates the terms. But you can turn the little man against the big man, right? So feminism, the government, whoever, they all run the same game on women. They come in there and say, oh, he's mistreating you, girl. He's oppressing you. How dare he not let you work and be independent? It's like, that's perspective. Because someone else can come in and say, wow, you're so lucky. He's willing to go out there and work and compete and provide for you so that you can stay home and focus on the children and don't have to work. So it's all persuasive writing. It's all in how you pitch it. It's the same information, the same details.
just
Right, but it's how you present it to that person to persuade their emotions. And we already know the guys are going to be a little bit more logic. The guys are going to be like, wait a minute, why am I breaking up my home now? Why am I going to let the government into my house? I got this. I'm good. I can make decisions for my own family. No. We don't need your handouts. I don't need you to force my baby mother or my wife to do anything. I got this. I lead my household. But it's easy to come in and tell the woman, he tells you what to do. He doesn't give you your freedom. He's just out there working and doing whatever he wants and enjoying himself and his freedom. He just leaves you at home
He
slaving
doesn't
with
respect
kids.
you.
Right, he doesn't respect you. So the woman is being bribed, with this image of freedom and not being controlled anymore, not being told what to do. And it's like, yeah, but at the expense of what? Right? Because she's thinking, yeah, but I depend on him and I need him to pay these things and to take care of us. It's like, no, you don't. He has to give you alimony, girl. Really? Yes, in this particular state, you're entitled to this amount of alimony. Really? See, this is from the perspective that the lawyers are coming. Well, listen, in this state, he has to give you this amount because you've been married for this amount of time. Yeah, but I have to take care of my children. Don't worry. Child support and alimony is separate. Really? Yeah, he's going to have to give you this amount of money every month, and it's up to you how you want to spend it. So it's easy to convince these women to turn on the husband, because now they're going to start thinking of everything that he's done that they didn't like, and she's going to exaggerate it in her head to justify the selfish decision. So what I'm trying to say is, I can't afford that. I can't afford that with my children. I've been in many relationships with women and had to deal with the uphill battle of their friends and their sisters and their cousins and even their mothers. My ex-mother-in-law constantly was trying to turn my wife against me, and I just was like, Jesus Christ, this is unbelievable. Like I'm the bestest husband I can be, and the mother just constantly keeps giving her this negative input and telling her things are going to happen that not only haven't happened, but there's no inclination for them to happen. All men are going to cheat. It's just a matter of time. Like, well, why would you be telling your daughter that? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She's telling her, you shouldn't have married him. You should have married for money and then divorced for love. Because her argument was, but I love him, Ma. And the mother's argument was, well, you should have married a rich man first, then divorced the rich man, and then married him for love. That way you'll be protected regardless of what happens. I'm like, what kind of shit is that to say to my wife?
What kind of crappy parenting.
Right, you're telling my wife she should manipulate.
Parenting.
Right, you're telling my wife she should manipulate an older rich man, which means you would have to sleep with him. Yeah. So you're telling her to go have sex with an old rich man and divorce him just to take his money as safety so that there's no risk in her marrying me? What? All because her ex-husband left her for a younger woman after taking her money and status, because her and her family had the money. They owned restaurants and he was a chef, so he played it on some Kevin Federline shit. He married her, became the head chef of the fucking restaurant, learned how to run a restaurant, divorced her, took the fucking house, you know what I'm saying, took alimony and went and bought his own restaurant and married a younger woman. But what I'm trying to say is that's an isolated occurrence. There's very few guys that can even pull off some Kevin Federline shit, and the mother has the nerve to raise the daughter like that's common. Why? So that she doesn't have to take any accountability, which is a pattern I see in women. They love to create this narrative where nothing is their fault, they're a victim of it, and all men do it. And by saying all men do it, what they're really trying to do is say, it's not my fault because of the man I picked. It's not because I'm stupid and I got played and taken advantage of. It's not that he ran game on me. It's that all men do this. No. No. What happened to you is a 1 in a million. That's a 1 in a million, bitch. How many times do you hear about a dude marrying some chick, divorcing her after taking all her shit, and then marrying a younger woman and sharing it with her? That is usually what women might do, but it damn sure doesn't happen common with guys. But this is the brainwashing she kept trying to force down my ex-wife's throat. And to make it worse, she was engaged once before me, and the dude that she was engaged to, he cheated on her when she was out of town, and then when she left him, he ended up marrying the girl he was cheating with. So in her mind, all her experiences with guys in marriage, personally, the guy was leaving for some other woman, right? So just
negative experiences.
Right. That's why I say you can't let what other people got going on affect you as a woman. For a guy, like I said, it's a little bit different. I'm not saying women shouldn't be cautious based on other people's experiences. What I'm saying is women tend to let it override their intellect. Because the circumstances wouldn't even line up, is my point. Like, for example, I was paying majority of all the expenses in my marriage, so where would you compare it to your parents' marriage? How could you compare it to your parents' marriage when your mother had far more money than your father did? And your mother came from money. Your grandparents had the money. So he married into money. I didn't marry into money because I don't even know what the fuck you have. And I'm paying majority of the bills, and I made it my business to pay the majority of the bills. I went out of my way to make that clear. We're not doing no 50-50 bullshit. We're not doing none of that because I need to be the man in my house. So I bought the condo for that reason. Like, this is my fucking place. I bought it. You live with me. And somehow her mother still is trying to make this comparison. Which is strange. And then it's like, what is this whole marrying for money, divorcing for love shit when we were financially fine, right? The condo was paid for, both our vehicles were paid for, and we both like had money saved and all our bills were paid in advance. So where is this incentive to have some kind of safety net of money when we both already had our own savings, right? So like I just feel like none of it correlated, but somehow that was a major influence. And had I been a guy with less game and less foresight, I think it would have been 10 times worse. Because I was able to counteract a lot of it just in the way I handled my ex-wife. But I see a lot of women allowing other women to talk them out of embracing their relationship or embracing what they have. Like, they're letting other women convince them that there's more risk than there actually is, if that makes any sense, what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get that.
So let's talk a little bit about single motherhood, because I know I wanted to get to that. What are your experiences with it in your part of the world? Do you feel like there's a lot of women, disproportionately a lot of women having children out of wedlock?
There is a disproportionate amount, I think, of women that have kids out of wedlock. At least for my generation, obviously. I don't know about the generations above us. I don't think it was the case. But yeah, I think for people my age and younger, it seems to be kind of the norm, which is a bit sad. But yeah, I know that it's not just having them out of wedlock. It's more a case of the relationships and stuff that people are having nowadays. It's almost like nobody's really aiming for the same kind of things as, say, like 20 years ago. So it feels a bit more unstable.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I just think that you'll figure it out. I mean, a lot of people, I think, in the chat agree with me. Like, if your heart and your mind is in the right place, and you're not gonna turn on this guy for any little thing, you see the bigger picture. You realize that your kid having both of you in their lives at the same time together is the priority. Then you'll be able to work out or overcome whatever may come your way. I mean, like, think about it. What's the worst that could happen? Somebody lose their job, or somebody cheat on somebody. I mean, I feel like you can handle what life might throw at you, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
as a parent.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, right. And if that's the case, then begs the question, what the fuck is the prolonging about? You know, so that's the thing. I tell guys that all the time. Like, listen, make up your fucking mind and stick to it. Because if you prolong on something and they end up doing it anyway, you're just gonna kick yourself in the ass and say, why didn't I do this?
Like, you didn't do it sooner.
X years sooner. And then guys always give me pushback and say, oh, there's a time for everything, and maybe I wasn't ready yet. And it's like, all right. Or you could have got it done sooner and had more time to enjoy it. Just saying.
This is true.
You know, so if I'm telling guys, hey man, move to another country or start traveling, and they put it off for another couple years, and then they go have an amazing experience, you mean to tell me that wouldn't have happened if you did it 2 years sooner? If you did it two years sooner, you'd be married to a local by now, already on your first baby. So that's the thing. There's guys asking me, you know, what about this and this and this with fitness? I'm like, bro, the first thing you need to do is go do some blood work and get on some hormone replacement therapy. They put that shit off and put it off, and then they finally do it, and they're like, this is great. And it's like, yeah, dumbass, you could have did that 3 years ago. You know, my cousin right now is loving HRT. He's loving it. Every time I speak to him, that's all he wants to talk about. I'm like, bro, I got it. Been there, done that. I know. He's like, but look at my biceps though. But look, I'm like, bro, I know. He's
Yeah.
like, this is amazing. I'm like, I know. But I've been telling him to do it for literally 8 years. And he finally fucking did it. And he waited until his dick stopped working to do it. And it's like, bro, you literally could have did this 7 years ago. You see what I mean? So procrastination is nobody's friend is all I'm trying to say. Yes, certain things you have to plan it, certain things you have to be patient, but is that really what you're doing? And I think that's the question you need to ask yourself. Is that really what you're doing?
Yeah. That gives me a lot to think about. So that's actually, it's great. It's great that we've had this convo. Because, to be fair, I don't know if I'd considered it, like, from your perspective, from the way you described, like, explained everything. So, yeah, like, it's interesting that might be the case. And I wasn't even thinking about it.
You're afraid of not being a perfect mother, which is asinine because nobody is perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? But when you see like these single mothers like in London and in the UK, I mean, what is the impression that you get? That it's a struggle because they're a mother, or it's a struggle because they're a single mother?
I think not just the single motherness, maybe that, but also the struggle of trying to make it in the hood, if that makes sense. Like, where I'm from, it's quite, it's like the not so nice area of London. So, I don't know, there's a lot of people and families that are struggling and coming from poverty. And that seems to be the main theme of what I see, that the families, like, continue that trauma, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but... yeah, I mean, that just seems like a rough place to raise kids to begin with. That I will agree.
It is. But I know that, you know, to be fair, there's always opportunities where you can move away. You don't have to stay in one place. So, yeah, it's just a case of figuring out what's right for you and how to go about it. And so, yeah, it's just something I need to have a conversation about, really, with my boyfriend.
All right, well, listen, we're going to let you do that. We'll let you get some sleep. I know you got, work and, you got to pay the piper.
It's not that. It's just I'm the time difference is like, I don't want to nod off like halfway through the stream.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. It's that's trying to link up with people in Australia and UK.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah,
Australia's
it's tough.
so far.
Yeah, but I mean that's why we appreciate you coming on and chopping it up and.
Thank you for having me.
Right, I need women like you to show guys that Western women aren't all.
We're not all crazy.
Right, they're not all anti-relationship or anti-men.
Oh yeah.
Even if it's the majority or whatever, who cares? There's only one first place trophy, so I don't know why guys are like,
exactly.
whining about the conditions. The conditions in the world are always gonna be whatever they're gonna be at that point in time. We always gotta keep on pushing to get the best results for ourselves as individuals. Just like there was some guys in the chat the other day saying, "Oh, who wants to bring children into this world? And the world is so terrible. I would never bring kids into this world." And it's like, bro, if people were talking like that in slavery times, black people would cease to exist in this country. If people were talking like that during World War I, what the fuck? If people were talking like that during World War II, what the fuck? If people right now in Russia and Ukraine were talking like that, then how would there be another generation of kids? Right. How would we still be here if every time things were rough? Mind you, things have always been rough. It's just different parts of the world at different times.
Yeah.
Just because it seems like it's peaceful here, in another part of the world it's civil war, it's turmoil, but I guarantee you those people are still having children. So somebody has to make babies. Right.
Maybe it's a very first world perspective to have, very privileged perspective to have, to sort of have these kind of excuses maybe that, there's, nothing's right in the world and bad people are everywhere and bad things are happening. But they've always been happening. That hasn't changed.
Right, and suppose the people who have made changes, suppose the people who have, helped their community or helped society overall or been influential in a positive way or whatever, suppose those particular individuals' parents were talking like that. Then that person wouldn't have existed.
Yeah.
So you don't know who or what your kids are going to grow up to be. What, have you never seen Terminator?
Yeah.
John led the resistance.
Yeah.
And the whole premise of the Terminator is that the robot was trying to kill him before he could even grow up. They were trying to kill his mom before she even gave birth. That was the whole point. He was trying to prevent the birth of John in the first place. So come on now. So you got to kind of think, who might your kid be? You will never know unless you have said kid and wait for him to grow up and do the best job that you can do as a parent with the times. And also, every organism wants to live. So it doesn't matter how fucked up times are. No kid is like, you know what? I wish you had just gotten an abortion. I'm being for real. As rough as times get, I don't think there's too many kids or people that are going to be like, I wish my parents just never had me. I wish I never got shot. So, even if you think it's bad, the kid might be like, what? It is what it is. This is the times I'm growing up in. So it's not even like the kid has a base reference. It's not even like your kid is going to complain and be like, yo, why you brought me into this shit? Yeah. Like, why wasn't I born in the 80s or the 90s? This shit sucks. You should have had me 20 years earlier. I don't want to be in this shit. The kid's not going to say that. The kid knows what it knows from experience and whatever. So I tell guys all the time, like, I feel for you because you don't know how bad you have it in comparison to how my generation had it. Right? But my generation, I think, was relatively lucky because the one that came before it in the area I lived in would have been dead smack, in the crack era.
Yep.
When people were dying left and right and there was all this violence in the streets and everybody was strung out on crack cocaine. So, all I'm saying is you never know. Because I was born at the tail end of that.
Yep.
You see what I mean? And my generation couldn't have known, or my parents' generation couldn't have known that, hey, this is about to get a little bit better.
No, they couldn't have known.
Right. So if they had been thinking, we can't bring a baby into this, then I would have never been born.
Yeah.
Right? All right. So just think about those things. I want you to talk to him about it, and maybe a little love, a bundle of joy is what you guys might need.
I'll give you a follow-up and see what happens.
Yeah, just send me a picture of the stick when you pee on it so I can... Send me a positive pregnancy test so I can be like...
That's hilarious. He's going to be like, why did you send this guy a pregnancy test photo? And I'm like, it's completely a regular thing to do. That's totally normal. Yeah.
Name him Allende. Now let me stop. No, but I'm working on it. Trust me. Once I can move to a country where, I know they can't just take my kid from me. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start popping it out. Trust me, I get the pressure all the time. Every time I go back to Jamaica or even talk to my family, they're bringing it up. My uncles are all like, "So when you gonna bust a baby? Why you never, yo? You sure you don't have any children?" I'm like, "I'm sure." You're like, "You sure you don't have no picnic?" I'm like, "Yo, I'm sure." Yo, that want the poom I guess. I'm like, yo. They're not gonna give up. They trust me. They be pressuring me because the thought process is if you die and you never had any kids, it's like you never lived.
Yeah.
That's the thought process that they have in Jamaica. It's like, yo, if you're a man and you die never having children, it's equivalent to you never having been here because who cares? What's the proof that you were
What have you
here?
got to show?
Right,
Yeah.
and I agree with that. The last time I spoke with my mother, she brought the shit up. She was like, "I have the grandbabies this weekend." I'm like, "Okay." She's like, "So I got the two grandbabies this weekend." I'm like, "Ma, you're not going deaf." Yeah, I heard you. You heard me. Why are you repeating yourself? I'm like, where are you going with this? She's like, "Well, I have your brother's baby and I have your sister's baby." I'm like,
That's
yeah, Ma.
cute.
I'm like, yeah, Ma. I understand that. You said you
What are you
had,
trying to say,
yeah,
Ma?
you said you had both the grandbabies. I got it. And she's like, no, I'm just saying because I have 3 children. I'm like, and she's like, you know, and you're the oldest, so I'm like, Ma.
Alright, Mum, I get it.
She's like, I'm just saying, you know, if anything, just make it a
Nudge,
boy.
nudge, wink, wink.
Yeah, because she has two granddaughters, so she wants a
Aw.
grandson is what it is. And I'm like, you act like I can put in an order like it's McDonald's and I could be like, no, give me a boy. I can't guarantee that. She's like, well, just know that I'm counting on you, son. And I'm like, way to put some pressure on it. Because now if I have a daughter, my mom's going to be happy, but at the same time, she's going to be like, I thought it was going to be a boy.
There's that added like pressure of, oh, now it needs to be a boy as well.
Well, trust
Otherwise,
me,
you'll
like
be overrun by women.
I feel like that's the case because both of my best friends have daughters, and my siblings have daughters.
Yeah. There's lots of girls in your family.
Well, I'm just saying that it's mostly daughters are being born in general now. So
Yeah.
you know, and I've looked into it, and from what I see, it's nefarious and it's intended. It's chemicals that they're putting in the environment and in our lotions and shampoos and deodorant.
Microplastics.
Right, and the plastics or whatever they're putting in our shit, it's causing.
Especially the food you guys have over there. Jesus, the amount of hormones and stuff.
Right, it's increasing the probability that you're going to have a daughter over a boy.
Yep.
And it's also.
It's funny because if you look into something, look into there's leatherback turtle mating, right? And now when leatherback turtles mate, for the most part, based on the temperature of the sand,
right.
It depends on what they'll have.
Right, the gender. Well, alligators are the same way.
So now that the temperature's getting warmer, the sand is hotter, and that means that mainly females are getting born. And that means there's only 1, maybe 2 males every year. And so the species is in massive danger. And the same kind of goes for us.
That is strange. But wouldn't that mean there would be more babies though? Because if there's more females being born, then the males would just have to impregnate more females, no?
Yeah, except it might get to a point where there's no males being born at all.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Or God forbid one of the males gets eaten, because that's why those species of animals have so many babies in the first place, is because a large percentage of them are going to get eaten anyway.
Yeah.
So.
And they can only lay their eggs on like one specific beach in the middle of the ocean, and it's like a random island in the middle of nowhere.
Jesus.
So the fact that that's disappearing as well doesn't help.
Well, we actually have that like in Florida, because what they do is those people seal that whole shit off. Like if the turtle, like wherever the turtle lays eggs, they come and they seal that whole thing off. We can't go nowhere near it. Because they're like endangered, so they're like, we can't afford for people to step on these eggs or whatever. Of course. Yeah, they have to protect it. So, but it's just interesting. Like even the amphibians now, the frogs and whatnot, they're a large majority of the tadpoles are.
Environment matters.
Right, they're converting to female from male because of the chemicals, the fertilizers that we use. So the point that they're trying to make is that there's no way in hell that this is affecting the wildlife in this way, and it's not affecting humans. Like if what it's doing to animals is causing them to have either more females born or effeminate males, there's no way that that's not going to also be expressed in the human population.
Definitely.
So we are having this issue of trying to stomp out manhood and males in general. And it's mostly being done covertly, and you got all these people that act like they can't see it, and it's like it's not obvious that they're trying to like feminize everything in any way that they can, and they're promoting girls to go to school and giving them scholarships or whatever. Like, why all this support and encouragement for women and none for men?
Yeah.
And the women keep on assuming that it's the narrative they give them, which it's, oh, they're trying to compensate for women being oppressed. And it's like, well, listen, I can tell you right now how they're trying to weaken society in that way, because every revolution was conducted by men. That's for starters. So they know there's going to be less potential for resistance if everything's feminized. Then the next thing is, if you give resources to women, they waste and squander those resources. That's a fact. You give women resources, they just spend it right back into the economy. You know, which is the same shit that they say about black people. If you give black people, what you call it? What the fuck is the shit they keep on asking for? Reparations or whatever. The joke is, and it's not a joke because it's true, if you analyze the spending habits of the black community, if you give them reparations, they're just going to spend it right back into the economy. Exactly. They don't own anything. So if they spend that money out of the community, it's gone forever. It's never coming back into the black community. But do you think it's a coincidence that majority of people raised in the black community are raised in single mother households? And also that's how women tend to spend their money in general, is on, you know, fleeting things that are only valuable in the moment. But if you give men resources, what do men do? They get married and share it with women. So, I mean, that's a fact. Nobody can argue or debate me on that, or we can just go and, you know, get loads and loads of fucking information and references to prove it. Anytime you give women government grants, you give women scholarships, you give women positions and jobs, anytime you give women a leg up economically, financially, socially, it makes them less likely to get married. It makes them less likely to have children. It makes them less likely to be in a long-term relationship with a man. Now, if you give that exact same thing to men, you get the exact opposite reaction. If you give men scholarships, if you give men grants, if you give men loans, if you give men high positions in a company or a job, they overwhelmingly are more likely now to go pair up with a woman and share those resources with her and start a family. Right? So that's already how men are wired. If you give a man a good amount of money, he's going to go sleep with a bunch of beautiful women for a while, and then he's going to pick one, he's going to settle down and share all his shit with this woman when she's made little to no contribution but just looking beautiful. It is what it is. And you can't say, oh, the women are such gold diggers. It's like, bro, we're wired to want to do that anyway. If we have an abundance of resources, we are wired to want to share it with a beautiful woman, and all we want in exchange is for her to exclusively be ours. That's all guys really want in return, is that she's not having sex with anyone else. And that's obviously our biological imperative, to put some babies in her, right? And to be sure that the babies are ours, right? That's what we want. So, you know, it's just something to think about. And I think that would definitely motivate the hell out of your dude if he knew he had a baby on the way. If you don't believe me, tell him you're pregnant. Watch how tell him you're pregnant. Watch how productive he gets.
Good God. Give him the biggest heart attack.
No, I don't think so. I'm telling you right now, it's a fucked up lie to tell somebody, but I bet you he'd be hella productive though.
Good point.
All right.
Well, I'll let you know how it goes.
All right. Well, listen. You're welcome on. We'll definitely have you on another time. I might be able to get some other women from the UK, and then I could just let you guys tell us all about it. Maybe I get someone from one part, from your part, another part, and then yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, we're out of here.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Everybody say good night to Sophia.
Good night.
All right, guys. She's out of there. She checked out. Let me just read some of these before I jump off and jump back on, because I'm going to jump back on with Laura. You know, shout out to Tip Network. I know Grover's probably like, why are you streaming so much? Bro, I'm sorry, man. That, you know, when girls don't flake, then I end up double booked, and then I don't want to, you know, cancel anybody. So yeah, real quick, let me see where I can pick up on the chat. I don't see any super chats. I didn't miss any super chats. You guys must have spent all your money on Easter eggs or something like that. But yeah, so looking in the chat, yeah, man, definitely, real men are against abortion. That shit is child murder. I don't care how you cut it. That shit is despicable. Um, yeah, I definitely think Sophia found a good dude. She's been with him for a minute. She seems pretty reasonable. And yeah, man, the day's end. I think there's a lot of reasonable women out here. Not as many as there should be or as we need, but guess what? If you guys make it your business to find them and lead them and work out, you know, some dominant relationships with these women where you're in the lead and you're in your role and putting her in her role, it's just gonna lead as an example to these other women out here that's acting up, right? So we have to validate the women that are behaving themselves and make it appealing to the women who are not. I think she just wants the financial security. Yeah, I mean that's what women want. That's how women are wired. So dude's gonna have to step up and provide that bread. It's nice to see Allende stay true to his beliefs no matter how it makes the guests feel. Yeah, it's just, the trick is just trying to find a way to not offend women while keeping it real. And I think that's not happening enough. And that's why these women act like anybody that tells them the truth is some kind of asshole and he hates women. It's like, that's just because you haven't heard this shit before, but many men agree with it. Yeah, pretty messed up Hollywood circles, adrenochrome and such. Yeah, man, that's a thing, and it's not really a new thing. It's been happening for thousands and thousands of years, and the people that run shit now are in those circles. So it's always been the people in power doing that weird shit. That's part of how to get in power. 100% facts on abortion, Allende, and that's from Liberty, sports cards, Days End Again, drinking blood, and all other messed up stuff. Yeah, man, basically. All right, guys, I'm gonna jump up out of here now, and I'm gonna bust a leak, take a piss, eat some crackers, and come back and see what this sexy ass chick Laura is talking about. She's a little mixed breed. What is she? French and Jamaican, if I remember correctly. So it's a nice little mix going on there. All right, so see you guys in like, I don't know, 5 minutes or something like that. All right, man.